I want people to learn how to define success through the lens of joy. And in that, they're going to find their joy job by figuring out how to monetize things that light them up inside. Through the lens of their human design is one way, but the ultimate thing is how to monetize their joy so you can have the largest impact on this planet for a legacy that you're here to live.
When was the last time you sat down with a girlfriend and just recorded a conversation that turned into something that really resonated? That's what I felt like today. And you are going to hear about a behind the scenes story of how to live your joy job. Welcome to Women Leaders on the Move, a Her C-Suite Radio podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Benamou, and every week I have the amazing opportunity to speak with guests like my guest today, Michelle Pecak. She is Chief Vibe Officer of My Vibe, and she creates human design. We're going to talk about her new book and her joy job that she talks about in the new book, as well as her amazing community and all the ways that she amplifies and gives to all that know her. I cannot wait for you to hear this conversation. So let's get started now. Michelle, I'm so excited to welcome you to Women Leaders on the Move today. Thanks for being on the show.
You're welcome. I'm so excited. I feel like it's long overdue and we have so much to catch up and talk about.
I can't believe it's taken us this long to do this, but I'm thrilled because this moment is coming right after a big special day. So we're going to talk about that. And before we get to that, you've had some big shifts in your career and what you're doing. Bring us up to speed on where you're at with things.
It's an ongoing journey, right? So where I'm at currently is I have my joy job, and it's interesting because I think that's how this whole journey unfolded. Was my journey was like, I just want more joy in my life, right? And so my background is 20 years in supply chain, scaling billion-dollar companies through pricing strategy. And as fun as that sounds, it really got to a point where I just didn't want to do it anymore. Like I learned the skill, but the environment that I was working in and the ways that I was working were just not lighting me up inside anymore. And so I went on an amazing retreat. And it was the first time, it's kind of where the books came out of, is that I went, I don't want to do this anymore. So then it's been this journey of like, okay, well, I can scale billion-dollar companies and pricing strategy and Six Sigma black belt. So I'll just do consulting, right? That sounds easy. And easy meaning like, let's just go do it. The skills and what you do are there. So I started my own business, Simple Smart Consulting, started consulting for clients and, realized that some of the clients are also toxic. So it really wasn't, it was some of it was the work I was actually doing. And so it really was like this hard pause of like, okay, what do I actually do that lights me up inside? And how do I monetize joy? And so that's really evolved into what we're going to talk about today.
We met at a chief event, I think in person, but we had connected on LinkedIn. I've been following you, and I had like this moment, this fangirl moment where I saw you and I was like, wait a second, I've been following you. Oh my gosh, you're in person. Does that happen to you a lot? Do people do that?
Also have these moments that I really appreciate where people say, I feel like I know you, or wait, you look familiar, or oh my gosh, you're exactly who you are in person, like I thought you would be. And those are some of the biggest compliments for me because in my journey, in my social media journey, I was actually like told to stop posting online at my company. Don't post, like, don't speak on behalf of us, all the things. And it was that moment of like, well, what do you talk about when you're not really supposed to talk about what you do? Right. And so I think finding my authentic voice and having people love me and follow me, and yet nobody knows what I actually do for a living, I kind of think it's beautiful. And it kind of makes me believe in this whole energetic connection with people of like, you know what? Nobody knows what I do. And, as much as y'all love supply chain, that is not why you were following me in the first place. Right. And so it's just kind of that beautiful way of saying something about my energy is either inspiring or connecting. And I just want to be myself. And I think that when you're truly in your aligned energy, you will attract people that, whether it's a fangirl or not, it's just that moment of like, I don't know what it is, but I like her and I want to be around her. And to me, like, whether that's a fan or not, I believe we all have our superpowers to share with each other. And I also think that when it comes to the impact we're supposed to have here, that some people have a larger fractal line of humanity that they're supposed to serve than others. Some people like me may make it look easy to grow to 30, 40, 50,000 followers, right? And others may say it took me forever to get to 2,000. And I don't actually believe that there's anything in competition. I believe it's like, no, we're supposed to attract exactly who we're meant to serve. And some people have a larger audience that they are literally here to serve. So I love those fangirl moments because then it makes me feel like, all right, my purpose, it's here. It's attracting people that I don't even realize I'm touching. So thank you for that. I received that. I appreciate it. And it really wasn't intentional, but I love connecting in real life and having people feel like they know me. That's like the biggest compliment I could get.
And for those of you who don't have the opportunity or haven't met Michelle in person, I want to just describe this enormous energy and amplify effect. You are the biggest amplifier of shining this light. I'm looking at you now, and our listeners aren't seeing what I'm seeing, but you have your book, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and this burst of energy and color behind you. And that's how I always see you, is in this light. You bring light everywhere you go and always connecting in amazing ways. And that's really, I think, how you discovered and are really growing that joy job. Can you talk about how you're melding those two together and how that transformed into what you're doing now?
Thank you for that opportunity because it was kind of that moment of truly learning my human design. And it was like, wait, my number one gift is bringing people together. That's weird. And then others were like, "Michelle, that is not weird. That is who you are. Like, what?" And I had these Elle Woods moments of like, what? Like, it's hard. Like, I just post an event on a Tuesday and 70 women show up. Why is that so hard? I mean, it literally took me 5 minutes. I think things that come so easy to us and so naturally in flow, we don't even realize are our gift. Sometimes I think we take that for granted. I also think sometimes we brush it off of like, oh, that old thing. Like, no, I just did that. Right. And we don't truly own our superpowers. And so for me, owning the fact that I bring people together was a really big moment of like, huh, yeah, I really do that naturally because I love it. Whether it is my energy or the awesome people that I know and that I get the opportunity to bring together. I always say I meet people for other people so that I can connect them later. And there's a beauty in that I don't have an ulterior motive. So I'm always leaning into that. I just bring people together moment. But until I realized it was a superpower, I don't think I even thought through the lens of how would I monetize this? And I think that's kind of what led me to figuring out a joy job and led me to figuring out which communities are for me and which ones I needed to let go. The ones where I couldn't be my authentic self or I just didn't feel valued truly. There's a lot in, work environments and in operations and different things where they come in, they suck all of the knowledge out of you that they need. And then they're like, thank you, goodbye. We have more tactical people to take it from here. And sometimes through that lens, it's hard to not feel like chewed and spit out a bit. Even though you did what you're supposed to do, you came in, you add value, and you moved on. And so when you're kind of tapping into that joy lens, it's like, well, what can I do that I'm in flow and monetized? And then I'm meant to move on when my portion of that is done. And I think it was a new lens for me to look at and kind of let go of some of that bitterness of not feeling like people were using me and feeling like people were aligned and everybody was part of the journey at a different time. And that really led me to building an online community. I call it My Vibe because as I went through this journey, funny enough, I kept saying, I don't know, some people are my vibe and some just aren't. And then finally I was like, I'm just going to call my community My Vibe because some people are your vibe and some people are not. And I think it's all really beautiful. The concept was along the lines of I don't believe in competition. And so I'm like, well, shoot, how do I build a community when I'm part of like 11 that I love? I don't want to compete. I don't want to steal members. That's not my vibe. And I'm like, well, what does it look like to build something where people hang out and do business without competing with something they're already a part of? And that really took me digging into my human design as well and being like, but Michelle, you bring people together to the resources that they need. And I was like, oh, that's true because a lot of my communities are professional friend groups, but I'm not getting any clients out of it. Some are only networking, some are this. And I thought, you know what? What if we all come together in like a virtual shopping mall and we all share our talents and ask for what we need? And then it really became this beautiful lens of looking at every connection through the lens of reciprocity. And that was when all the bells and whistles started going off for me because I was like, oh, that's it. I can highlight your community and I can highlight your community and I can amplify and we can all share our wisdom. And then we all find each other a lot easier. And then it was just kind of this morphing of like, well, that's really new. How do I even describe that to people? But again, I think when you're so aligned with your actual purpose, that it all starts falling together and falling into place and then the people that fall away were never really in alignment with you. And, that's again another morphing journey of like, all right, I have a community and now what do I do with it? Right. And that's how I started teaching human design because I wanted to give to my community, not just creating it. Like, well, what's my give to the community? And so again, it's just kind of that evergreen morphing into trusting the next step.
Trusting the next step is so key. And I remember when I met you, I think you were just launching, I think, My Vibe, right? It was pretty new.
Yeah.
But you described it to me and I was like, that's exactly what I imagined 5 years ago with this back in the day, it was the web, this weird marketplace where you could like walk down virtual aisles of trade shows because that was my background at the time. And I was like, you could just go to the pavilion for healthcare and you can go to the pavilion, for this. And that's literally what you've created is this ability to find things in this easy way, come in and you do it on your own time and it's easy to meet people. So I absolutely love all that you're doing. And I sat with you and you did my human design in a park bench in Chicago one day. And I was like, wait, what? And you described it to me. And I was like, oh my God, this is so much better than strength finders and all these other things. Let's talk about human design because it is mind blowing.
Thank you so much. It's interesting because everyone's got to find their vibe, right? And so I have done Enneagram, Strengths Finder, Myers Briggs, DISC, all of them because, fun fact, I'm a projector in human design, and projectors don't know themselves very well. We are the mirror for others, but not for ourselves. So every assessment that I could get my little hands on, I was like digesting and taking in, and they all directionally align, right? But then I kind of felt like I outgrew some of them. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm a trailblazer here and an ENTJ there and a second wing of the eighth cloud somewhere else, right? And at the end of the day, it was like, it's just self awareness and giving information. And I do think that people attach themselves to an assessment with the level of mental capacity that they're ready to learn. So I do think that some of the easier ones, like the DISC and Myers Briggs, they're easier for people that are new to some of this. And so when I dug into human design, it's a mix of astrology and the I Ching and the Kabbalah tree of life and the chakra system and quantum physics. And I was like, whoa, now we're talking. And when I first read it, it kind of felt a little hieroglyphics. But something about the messaging, I couldn't get it out of my head. And so then I was like, all right, I got to do more. I got to learn more about this. But what I didn't love, truly, out the gate, was that you need to do a quote, a reading, right? I'm like, no, this isn't like a tarot thing. Like, I'm not going to go to somebody every time I want to learn something about myself. So I was a little turned off by it at the beginning. I don't want to go pay somebody $400 every time they want to tell me something new and cool about myself. It just wasn't my vibe. And so I just started learning it on my own, studying every book. I joined Ra Aruhu's community. I joined communities, right? Ra Aruhu is the creator of human design. And that's when a lot of the unlocks started happening. But then once I started digging into my design, well, then my one line kicks in. I want everybody to know what I know. I'm like a teacher and I want everybody to have these unlocks that I did. And that's when I truly started realizing, oh crap, nobody's going to learn human design like I did. So, how do I get this information in a very actionable, tangible way that people can take it and actually make life changing impact? And it really is an adventure map because if you try to read your human design like a book, no, 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 no. No, you're not going to connect the dots. It's not how it's really meant to be absorbed. It's meant to say, here's how you make decisions. Here is how you process people's energy. Here is when you need to rest. Here is this. And so the way I kind of digested it was like, I just need to get it in very actionable, bite sized chunks for people. And then I'm going to build a tool in AI to connect all those dots so that people don't have to learn human design. So truly, I started teaching human design for those that don't want to learn human design. oddly enough. Because again, we see problems and we know how to fix them, then we're capable of fixing them. And I also think too that you said you had the idea of like a marketplace, right? I believe in big magic. I don't know if you guys have ever read the book Big Magic. I forget the author now. It's about the fact that the universe gives the ideas to those who are capable of implementing it. And so I do believe a lot of people have the same idea and they're going to execute it in a very unique way. And so when people are like, hey, that was my idea and you stole it, or I'm like, there is abundance for all, my friend. We all have a different line of humanity to serve. And so I believe when someone had this similar idea, I'm like, let's band together. Let's put all of our marketplaces together. If you get the concept of what I'm building, holy crap, I just got more brain power. And if you look at life through the lens of abundance, that is how life can really start to unfold and you can truly monetize your joy.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's exactly how I viewed it. When you told me about this, I was like, "Get out of my head. That's so awesome. I'm so glad you're doing it." It's so exciting. And you just launched this wonderful gift to people that know you, which was the holiday edition of Human Design. And I did it and I was like, "Oh yeah, that actually is resonating right this minute. So interesting." What I want people to understand about the simplicity of human design. So if people don't know what it is, unlike the surveys that we're talking about where it tells you your personality type, no surprise, I was a maverick. That was one of my, styles. What's different is that you are not inputting information because I would always try to game it. I would be like, "Okay, what are you trying to ask me? I wanna make sure that I'm gonna come out on the other side, that I'm easy to work with, because it's your employer giving this to you. What are they trying to know?" This you have no say in. It is very specific numerical dates, and that's it. So can you share a little bit more about that? Because I think that's such a huge differentiation in what we're talking about.
You know what? That's such a great point and something that I tend to gloss over since I'm so deep in it now is it's based on your birth date, time, and place. So it to the way I view it is the gifts the universe gave you at the moment and the place you were born. Now the astrology side of it is like where all the stars were aligned and they gave you your stardust soul and words that I don't really understand. But it's really just like, hey, these are the gifts that you were given. And so the day you're born, you know your design. Now, what it doesn't mean is that you know your like life path. There's a lot of layers to this. We are all here for an experience. We are all imprinted by our parents. We have ancestral lines, things running through our genes. There's a lot more to it. If I look at human design, I think of it as the adventure map of you. Wouldn't you rather take the short path than the path with all the booby traps and the knives and all the skeletons and all the creepy stuff, right? And so when you're really in alignment, it does not mean that you are going to take an easier path through life. It means that you are going to be more in alignment. And that means that the things that surprise you, the things that are traumas, right? Either big T, like something very huge that happens to you, little T, I call those all the paper cuts that add up to bigger things. They're all part of the lessons that you are here to learn. And so if you view everything with a lens of curiosity, even the people that trigger you and the jerk boss and the toxic workplace, it's like, oh, interesting. What is this here to teach me? What lesson am I supposed to learn? And even in a beautiful way, every relationship is here to teach you lessons, right? I talked today about connection and how different parts of your chart are literally magnetized to some people and pushed away from others. And even if you married, let's say, somebody and got divorced, there was something about your soul's journey that needed to learn that lesson in that moment. And so if you can look at your lens of human design and say, I'm supposed to be learning all these lessons, and I have free will to choose the easy or the short path. I have choices that I can make. And so based on your birth date, time, and place, it's really just going to show you the journey and kind of the script of life that you're here to play out. If you kind of I use when I teach it, I use a play analogy. Like this is your role, this is your costume, this is, the script is not pre-scripted, but there's definitely a vibe to, hey, I am a 5-1 projector. I am here to lead, bring others together. I'm a builder. I'm an integrator, right? Like, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that is who I am. So I might as well do things that align with those skill sets. And to me, that's the beauty. You're not self reporting the things, you are just gifted these gifts. And it's also beautiful because It's interesting. Ra Uru, who loved mothers, and he said that if every mother knew human design, they would raise their child the way that they will have the largest impact in this world. And I loved that because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm raising two generators and a projector. Crap. They're not like me. I have to raise them in a different way. And even that has been so fascinating because it makes me feel more confident in that, okay, yes, my son is going to trigger me. And yes, he's a vampire and he only eats at night. But this is what his purpose is on this planet. He is a wise soul that is here to bring and connect others together. I know I'm babbling a bit on it, but it's like it just gets so deep into like how you connect with others. And looking at every relationship through that lens is so beautiful because it's your gift, but it's like self awareness, but it's also the gift that you are here to be on other people's journey.
And what I think our listeners need to think about, and I will have the link in the show notes. You have a free version where people can go and get their human design. And you can use your amazing or your GPT, Allie, that you created that helps build out a little more understanding. The thing that I remember, I think I even said it to you when you gave it to me, and I was like, I don't really think that that's really true about me. And you're like, really? You want to think about that? So it was about kind of pushing against the system or the norm and always like, looking for another path, which I'm a dot connector. You are part of this launch of Next Elite AI. And my whole view of that is women are not at the table. We need to change the way things are doing because it's not working for us. And then I was like, oh, yeah, that kind of fits my human design. Going against the grain and like, you know what? This isn't working. Let's solve this. And that is really my framework. But when I read it, I thought, oh, do I really do that? No, yes, I do. So,
What you're talking about is called in human design, it's called the incarnation cross. I call it the North Star. And it really is the combination of your four biggest gifts, your sun and earth gifts combined into one like purpose statement. And it is vague and it is industry agnostic, it's job agnostic, it's gender agnostic. And so when you read it, if you put everything you do through the lens of that North Star, it is a lens of like, okay, am I bringing people together? And when I see something that's not working, I fix it and I build something new. And maybe it's somewhere else. And if I look at everything through that lens, I go, yes, that is what I'm doing. Then yes, it is in alignment. If I stay somewhere too long, that's out of alignment for me. And guess what happens to a projector when they're out of alignment? I get very bitter. So there's all these like flags that come into play, and if you have these knowledge, it doesn't mean that you have this like immediate lightning bolt to the finish line. It means that everything that you're doing, you can put through that lens of, is this an alignment for me? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Because trust me, some of these transits and these cycles, you can only know if you're in alignment by looking backwards and be like, oh, yeah, I was totally out of alignment there. And then the other piece to keep in mind when you're in human design world is a lot of these gifts and the awakening really happens in your 40s. So 0 to 40 is learning, leaving childhood behind, learning your personality. And the other beautiful piece about human design is it's your personality and your unconscious side, right? And so when you said, "Oh, is that really me?" Cuz you didn't recognize that is your personality. But outside looking in, I absolutely recognize that as your unconscious side. And so what that means is the unconscious side is how others view you. And so there are times like 360 assessments are so powerful because people see things in you that you do not see in yourself. And what I love about human design is that's the unconscious side. It's so beautiful to be like, is that really how others see me? Yeah, I guess that makes sense because it's the combination of who you were raised to be and then the unconscious side of who you're actually here to be. That's the beautiful human experience.
and speaking of experiences, as people are looking at their portfolio career or they're thinking about what they're going to do next, or maybe they're in a career where they're stuck and they're thinking, this is really not serving me. I don't really know what to do. That's the thing that I think you discovered in your joy job. And how can people use what we're talking about to really leverage that in a meaningful way?
Well, it's interesting because the Joy Job chapter came out of this journey of me figuring it out. And it was like, well, someone asked me one day, how did you, to build what you're building? And I said, well, I just figured out how to monetize my joy. And they were like, can you tell me how to do that? And of course, then my corporate brain kicked in and I'm like, actually, there's a pricing model for that. 'cause my background is in pricing. And so that was when I really was like, "Ooh, how do you take what lights you up inside and monetize it through the lens of building a business or just finding something that somebody's willing to pay you for?" And when I say pay you, it absolutely means money because that is the biggest currency and impact that we have because of capitalism. But not everybody is looking for money or needs the money. And so they can also be paid for with time. And so I kind of look back and I laugh that a lot of people call their joy job like, oh, that's my side hustle. Or that is my, oh, no, I just volunteer. That's my volunteer work. And I was like, but if you love it and it lights you up inside, it is a job. There's work involved, right? And that's kind of where joy job came out of it is because our side hustles and our, volunteer work usually tends to be things that light us up inside. And what if you could figure out a way to monetize that along the way? I'm not saying you start charging your church for your services or your volunteer work, but I mean it looking at it through that lens of like, how do I take my mission and then map it out and monetize it and use that momentum to really have the largest impact that I'm supposed to have here in this earth? And to me, that was saying, okay, we have to take our human design, but then also put it through a quote pricing model, which is what I give you in your joy job, to say, what does it look like to have a free item? And then to have a low ticket item and a mid ticket and a high and a VIP. And a lot of the things that you do in your joy job, you actually learn the skills in your day job. So I also say in this is not I always say, don't quit your day job, find your joy job because somehow there is room for both. In fact, I had one of my chief sisters the first time she was in a corporate role, and I heard her say, well, that's my side hustle. I like jumped out of my chair. I was like, you're what? You are a mom doing that. How the hell do you have time for a side hustle? And she said, oh, it's because I love it. I make time for it. And it was like a moment when you have those core memory moments of like, wait a minute, oopsies, I forgot to have work that I actually like doing. Well, shoot, right? And so joy job is really about how do you take what lights you up inside and then walk through the exercise of what it looks like to monetize it. Because at the end of the day, it is work, it is a job. But we all have a purpose and we all have work to do here on this planet. Some people's work is advocating for others or animals. That's still work, right? Whether it's on behalf of somebody else or whether it is for a big fat paycheck, whatever it is, you are here to have impact. And I do think big fat paychecks are needed for the largest impact. It's really just saying, how do you take those skills that you've learned, right? Even before your awakening in the 40s, and then monetize it. And then I'd like to give you a pricing model because that's just my world. So people are like, well, I don't know how I would charge for that. I'm like, well, start here. Here's the model, and here's what it looks like. So it was just kind of me saying, oh, I'm going to take my skills, combine it with human design, and then I genuinely think I can help anybody figure out what lights them up inside and how to monetize it in some way, shape, or form.
Michelle, I could talk to you all day because I just love talking to you. And I know our listeners, I was going to say our guests, they are our guests and they're listening from 40 countries. So shout out to all of our international and global people that are here with us today listening. You can absolutely use this in any country, any place. We will have the link in the show notes. But today, this is releasing the day after your book. So I want you to envision, what does the day before this day that this releases, what does that feel like? If that was like a perfect day of the book release, what would that feel like for you?
Great question. I haven't added that to my vision board yet. I think it feels like calm clarity. It feels like this was work I was meant to be doing. I'm glad I trusted my intuition when I was asked to write it. I just said yes. I didn't think about how much is it going to cost? Do I have the capacity? Are they gonna like me? What's my story? What do I be known for? That was part of the journey. But just trusting that yes, I think was harder than now envisioning it coming to life. It feels like this bittersweet, beautiful moment of just feeling like I did it. I got information out into the world in a way that can help more people than just hoping that somebody hears my podcast. Because a book is a new medium. It's a new form that people can reach you in. There's social media and books and podcasts. And I do think that if you're in all of those forms, the slice of humanity that you're here to serve will find you. But I think you do have to be in all the mediums. And so I think it'll feel like a beautiful, I'm really proud of myself. I actually had somebody the other day reach out to me on LinkedIn and said, and she's from my industry, and she said, "How did you get out?" And I had a moment of like, oofty, that's a heavy weight. But I felt the energy of her comment. And that's the reason I wrote books like this is to say there is a way out. And I don't even want to throw shade, right? Toxic people have friends too. They're just not my vibe. But just to say you can get out of situations and environments that are not conducive to your aligned, joyful self. And anybody can do that. And so I wrote this book to say, I want to challenge people to lean into their joy and then follow the journey. So I think that moment is going to be a beautiful reflection of the journey that I've been on to bring this to life. And also that person that reached out and said, how did you get out? And I feel like everybody has that moment of I want out. The first sentence of my chapter is I don't want to do this anymore. And I think when you have that moment of clarity, I want people to have the calmness that came out of it like I did. So that is it. I started with calm clarity and I'm going to end with calm clarity. That is what the day I think will feel like.
So good. And I can't wait to celebrate it with you. I'm so excited. Make sure that if you're not following Michelle, I'll have all of this in the show notes. Be sure to follow you and celebrate this amazing week that you're going to have, the week that this comes out. Thank you, my friend, for being with me today. I appreciate you. And I'm so glad we had this conversation.
Me too. Thank you for the opportunity. I do believe in other people's audiences, right? There are people that need to hear each other from each other's audiences. And to me, that is where we all have platforms, we all have a voice, and we can all amplify each other when we come together. So thank you. I'm very honored that I was able to share my story today.
Thank you for spending your time with Michelle and me today. Michelle is one of those special people that I could spend all day talking with her, and that's how I feel inside her C suite with our members. Michelle's a founding council member of Next Elite AI. She's one of the luminaries who helps guide our members on all the things that are changing and updating because she is such an active user of the best ways to use AI. I would love it to see you in our programs. We have 11 every month. You don't have to attend all of them to get results and be in demand, stay relevant, and ahead of the speed of change. Check it all out at hercsuite.com. I would be so grateful if this show meant something to you. You would share it with a friend or colleague, rate and review. It's how people find us. And as always, keep shining your light bright. The world needs you.